Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Can we have the music off? Good afternoon, everyone. Mbini is my name. I'll be taking you through the proceedings of this afternoon. I'm basically a continuity announcer, but in modern times they call that person an MC, but that is to make it look much better than a continuity announcer, I believe. You are all welcome to Makerere University. Makerere University is 100 years old, as you all know, and we welcome you in our 101st year of existence. We have a lot of joy this afternoon welcoming you to Makerere University for a ceremony in one of its vibrant units, the Department of Journalism and Communication. Today you all know why we are here. We are here for the official launch of 2 new master's degrees, the Master of Strategic and Corporate Communication and the Master of Journalism and Multimedia. We are here to officially launch them and introduce them officially to the entire world. We are lucky to have quite a number of the students already enrolled on the program. We'll be introducing them to you, but I'll pick out a few obvious faces that you already know in public life along the way, and showcase them to you. We have a very, very interesting crop of students as our pioneer students on the program. But before I do that, I would like to introduce to you the chair of the Department of Journalism and Communication and ask her to take her seat at this end of the room. Dr. Aisha Sembatia Nachwara is our chair of the department. It is through her guidance that we are here to celebrate these 2 milestones or capstones, whichever you want to call them. Maybe Dr. Nturume would call them capstones. So, Aisha, you are welcome. I would also like to, I don't know whether our dean is here yet, but she should be on the way. I would also like to ask the representative of the principal of the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, where the Department of Journalism and Communication is located, is housed, Professor Patrick Mangeni. You are welcome, sir. They'll be speaking to us shortly. Yes, they'll be speaking to us shortly. You are all welcome. Yes, Dean Namiaro is here. Please come straight to the table this end. I will introduce the people she's with shortly. Please take seats in the front row. Professor Natkunda and Togboa and Dr. Gilbert Gumoshabe. Yes, so the lady coming to sit over here is Dr. Sauda Namiaro, who is the Dean of the School of Languages, Literature and Communication, where the Department of Journalism and Communication is also housed. Dean Namiaro, you are welcome. We are just starting off. None of us is late. I will introduce to you some people before we start officially, formally. I have seen Professor Chiwanukatondo. Please, Professor Chiwanukatondo, stand up for recognition. Professor Chiwanukatondo is a proud alumnus of Makerere University, but he's been working at the University of North Carolina in the United States. I think he's back here to help us in many ways and he's closely associated with our department as our external examiner for at least the last 6 years. So thank you, and you are welcome. We also have mid-stars, Professor E.A.T Natkunda Togboa. She's been our dean on many occasions. I think the alumnus of the department, especially at the master's level and PhD, know that she's been around. She's chaired the public defenses and viva voce exams. She's been with us. She's taught a lot of our students, especially those who do French, and we're happy to have her at this ceremony. Thank you for coming, Edith. We also have Dr. Gilbert Gumoshabe. Where did he sit? Yes. Dr. Gilbert Gumoshabe is the head of Department of African Languages. Yes, in the School of Languages, Literature and Communication. But he's also a good friend of the department. He's been helping us with the graduate supervision and been sitting on several doctoral committees. So Gilbert, you are welcome. We have staff of the department. Please, can you stand up for recognition? Your bosses here would like to see you. You never know. Yes. Can I introduce you, please? Dr. Gerard Waruria, who is now the MA coordinator. So the MA students, that's your coordinator. Behind him is Dr. Fred Kakoza, who is in charge of our broadcasting services. We have Dr. Marjorie Chomuhendo Niyitejeka, who is the coordinator of the undergraduate program. We have Dr. Charlotte Kawesa Nturume. She's a lecturer in the department. We have Dr. Sarah Namusoga Kare. We have Mrs. Sevana Harriet, who is doing her PhD in South Africa. We have Mr. Sulaiman Kakaire, who is a graduate fellow, but also doing his PhD at the Makerere Institute of Social Research. Maiza. We have Christine and Helen, who support our department with administrative services. I have also seen Dr. William Tayebwa, senior lecturer and immediate former head of department. Dr. William Tayebwa, you are welcome. What we are seeing today started as a process during his tenure as the head of department. And I have also seen Professor Goreti Linda Nasanga. Please stand up for recognition. She's the origin and summit of what we do, both the origin and summit of what we do in the department. She's helped all of us to develop into what we see, and she's still helping a lot more people. Professor Nasanga, you are welcome. Professor Nasanga is also very inspirational to our students, and recently a student told us that she wants to become a professor in this department in the image of Professor Nasanga, and she got a first class and is now doing her master's degree at Oslo Metropolitan University in Norway. So you can see the inspiration Professor Natkunda is quite immense. Yeah. Then I would like also to introduce to you our keynote speakers today. Miss Gloria Sebikari is already here with us. Please. And then Dr. George William Rugarambi is also here. I'll be giving them a little more introduction when they come to speak to us later in the program. There are also other distinguished guests that we have. I have seen Mr. Robe Muhumza coming in. Mr. Robe Muhumza, you are welcome. He's a veteran journalism and communication person, professional, and has done a lot of things in this country. So you are welcome, Mr. Robert Muhumza. There is also Mr. Satweire, who is the treasurer of the Uganda Editors Guild. I have seen Dr. John Baptist Mokora, who is a member of staff in the department. I don't know where he sat, but you are welcome. Among our distinguished students, I see Sarah Kajingo, who has no more introduction. You are welcome. Yes, yes, you are welcome. There is Immaculate Amanya Chomuhendo, who works with the Uganda Communications Commission, and she's part of our first group of students. I will introduce the rest of the people as we get along. We also have quite a following online for this occasion, and would like to recognize and welcome them to this function. You are all welcome in your individual capacities. We are happy to have you here, our students, alumnus, friends of Makerere, friends of the Department of Journalism and Communication. You are all welcome, and we are going to, I'm sure, a very joyous afternoon today as we release to the world officially our new master's programs. Having introduced, I'm told that the Deputy Vice Chancellor will be coming in later at 3 p.m. But we are going to get started so that we don't have to scramble for time towards the end. And I know you are all busy people here, so we want to finish on time and then be able to return to our work or go to class for the students in good time. I'm sure I have introduced Mr. Wilson Akik Kaija, who is a member of staff in the department. In case I didn't, I am doing so. So I wouldn't like to take more time now. I would like to invite the Chair, Department of Journalism and Communication, Dr. Nachuwara Aisha Sembatia, to come and address us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ambaine. The representative, the principal of the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, Professor Patrick Mangeni, the Dean of the School of Languages, Literature and Communication, Dr. Sauda Namialo, the heads of departments from across the college, our students, our alumni, our keynote speakers, Dr. George Lugalambi and Miss Gloria Sebikari, our guests who are here physically and online, all our invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I want to welcome you all to the launch of our two new programs, the Master of Strategic and Corporate Communication and the Master of Journalism and Multimedia. Our department is very delighted to have reached this milestone that is going to propel us to achieve our current strategic objectives. The launching of these programs results from a very participatory and protracted process that has involved academia, the industry, donors, the university management, and our friends. We are very grateful for each of them who have played a role in enabling us and enabling a successful curriculum development process that has made this occasion possible. Specifically, I want to thank the members of staff of the Department of Journalism and Communication. They have all been introduced. These people have been working so hard for so many years to get the programs out of the pipeline. And we know that the world has been anxious to receive these programs, and we've been getting a lot of questions, a lot of inquiries. My predecessor here can tell you how many inquiries were coming to his office every day, asking specifically for the Master of Strategic and Corporate Communication. So I want to thank very deeply the members of the Department of Journalism and Communication for having worked so tirelessly to have the programs coming out. We also want to thank the university management, the Makerere University Council, our Senate, our college, the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, the School of Languages, Literature, and Communication, and the entire leadership of those units, the heads of departments, especially in the School of Literature, Languages, and Communication, for the guidance, for not getting tired, because, I mean, the programs have been going back and forth, and we got a lot of guidance from all these units and all these offices. So we want to thank you greatly. Dr. Mangeni, when you go back to the principal, please deliver our appreciation that the Department of Journalism and Communication is very, very grateful for all the support that we've been receiving for the last many years in which we've been working on these programs. The department, my colleagues and I also want to thank the media and communication industry out there. You know, when we were working, when we were still in the kitchen trying to cook these programs, we used to invite you here for consultative meetings. Many of you seated in the audience today used to turn up to listen in, to advise, to tell us what to add and what to remove. So we are very, very grateful for all this input that you gave us to ensure that the program and the programs rather come out the way you had expected them to come out. We also want to thank our funders. NOHED, which is a Norwegian organization, and the Commonwealth Fund. These are the two institutions that invested resources, financial, physical, and human, to ensure that these programs are launched or are developed and launched. These, NOHED in particular, used to fly in professors all the way from Norway to come here and advise on what needed to be done, on how we needed to structure the programs to ensure that the programs come out as, to represent the kind of image that must be represented of a university of Makerere's caliber. So we are very grateful to NOHED. We are very grateful to the Commonwealth Fund. This fund funded one of us, our programs coordinator, who is the curriculum development guru in the department, in the names of Dr. Marjorie Chomhead. This fund took Marjorie to the United Kingdom for 6 months to go there and understudy, because we didn't have good places within the country. and within the region. Because for us, we don't really want to compare ourselves to the region. And I'm not speaking really badly of the universities in the region. They are very, very good. But when Makerere is competing, normally we want to compete with the world. So this is why Marjorie was flown to the UK. She spent 6 months there just understudying programs to see how do the professors do their thing. How do they, specifically in the area of strategic and corporate communication, because we didn't have much experience. So Marjorie sat there and took good notes, and the people who will be seated in our classes starting next week, you will testify that indeed Marjorie's traveling to the UK for 6 months did not go in vain. So we are very, very thankful to the Commonwealth Fund. When Marjorie came back, she taught all of us, and she's continuing to do that, and we are improving, we are getting better every day. The timing of our program launch is very symbolic, as Makerere University celebrates 100 years of excellence in building a transformed society. Our department is part of this story, it's part of this history. As you might remember, our program started way back in 1988. In that year, our program, with just 6 part-time staff and 2 full-time staff, opened its doors to 20 students. The department has become the most prestigious journalism and communication institution in the country and on the continent. And it is recognized as the UNESCO Center of Excellence in Journalism Training. Now, we currently have 15 members of staff and approximately 470 students across our bachelor's and 3 MA programs and a PhD program. Over the past few months, our doctoral program has gained more prominence, and we continue to receive a number of students and a number of applicants who want to join the program, and we are very grateful for that. In the spirit of the Mark at 100, we intend to leverage our role as thought leaders in shaping the media, journalism, and communication professions in Uganda, in East Africa, in Africa, and in the world. As such, our graduate programs were conceived as a result of ever-increasing demand for advanced, skilled, and quality training in journalism, multimedia, strategic, corporate, and development communication. Thus, our programs have been designed to conform with industry trends, market demands, theoretical developments, and best practices in applying ICT in media and communication training and practice. We congratulate our pioneer students. Some of them are already here. There is Sarah, there is Immaculate there is Martin somewhere. We congratulate you very much for having been admitted to our programs as the pioneer students. We guarantee you that not only will you acquire a comprehensive understanding of journalism, mass media, communication, and all these fields, but you will also receive an appropriate, well-founded, high-quality education and skill base. Students in the journalism and multimedia program will be able to engage critically with contemporary issues relevant to the political, social, cultural, and economic roles of journalism, media, and communication in society. Similarly, students in the strategic and corporate communication program will be better prepared to apply their communication skills and knowledge of organization and corporate communication in public and private sectors, as well as support global and national efforts to improve livelihoods in areas of health, environment, agriculture, population, education, economics, human rights, and others. Overall, our programs will enable our graduate students to perform in the journalism, media, and communication sectors in the country and contribute to the attainment of national and global development goals. Considering our department's health, we now boost a highly trained and skilled woman and manpower. Woman and manpower of 13 PhDs. For us, this is a big thing. Those who know the story of how this department has been evolving know that this is a huge, huge achievement. If I may pause there and allow me to boast a little bit, just a little bit. I can tell you that you will not find a journalism school in this country that can boast of a quarter of that skill base. And I'm not being really arrogant, or no, I'm not. I'm only being honest, modest. Okay. So, we have 13 PhDs. These people have trained from all over the world. From all over the world. These are 13 PhDs out of 15 members of staff. That's a big thing. 2 of the remaining members of staff do not have PhDs, but one is almost there. The other is starting to peep. So just a few years, we will be the only department in the region with all members of staff with PhDs. So on that note, we are very, very grateful to our different funders that have funded these PhDs. In 2012, we only had one borrowed PhD, borrowed from literature, and Professor Nasanga. So when we post, please allow us. In 2012, we had only Professor Nasanga with a PhD, and another PhD. Okay, Dr. Taiba had returned from Canada, but he was still not able to allow to be called a doctor at that time. So he still behaved like us. And then we had another borrowed PhD from literature in the name of Professor Mushenjes. Now that we have 13, we must talk about that in very... So we want to thank our various funders who have led us to that achievement. NOHED, Kata, SIDA, Gata Henko, and others. All these organizations and institutions have funded the aforementioned doctoral training. The academic staff will be at the forefront of delivering the department's curricula effectively. Moreover, our staff are actively involved in research which contributes to generating indigenous knowledge that shapes policy and programmatic interventions, as well as scholarly premises while impacting society. Those of you who want to get a little bit, a sneak peek into what sort of research we do, please visit our website on jocom.mak.ac.ug. We have a well laid out research profile there, and you should be able to see what sort of research that we are doing. We continue to maintain strong links with the media and communication industry. That is why we invited many of you here. And as we look ahead, we count on the continuous support from the university management. I am sure that my principal here, Dr. Mangeni, will deliver the message to our principal, Professor Ahikire, who will effectively deliver another message to the VC. That the Department of Journalism and Communication is counting on the continuous support from the university management, from you, the industry, because while I have talked about the 13 PhDs, we all know that the department has been relying on you to deliver a well practical and well-taught curricula in our department. So we will continue to rely on the industry, on our alumni, and on the development partners in enabling the department to achieve its strategic objectives and priorities. My dean, please don't take this in bad faith, but as I have said, we have been strategically and deliberately on a campaign to grow since 2012, and that is why we have invested in these PhDs. So as we continue on this road to development, the Department of Journalism and Communication wants to announce that we want to turn into a school of journalism and communication in the next 5 years. We also want to request through you, Professor Mangeni. First of all, we want to thank the Vice Chancellor. When we announced that we are starting a program in journalism and multimedia and another in strategic communication, he gave us a donation of 20 computers, which have already been delivered to us. So we are very, very grateful for this donation and for the equipment. But we will not tire from requesting the college and the university to continue to support our equipment needs in order to allow us to train people that are skilled in the use of the current technologies. So we want you and request you to carry this message to the principal of the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, that even though we got the trained computers, we will soon be at her door knocking for cameras, tripods, and other equipment that we need to deliver the curricula effectively. Management is already helping us and supporting us to revive Campus FM. We all know what happened to our frequency. Because we know that this tool is a robust training platform for journalism and communication, and we hope that the efforts that they are now investing in reviving this radio will yield results in the near future. We also intend to establish a television and multimedia studio and revive our newspaper. We have already, or we already came to you, our alumni, to ask for money to fund us to start the multimedia studio. And while you gave us some money, and we intend to use it, we request that when we return back to you, you still find it in your hearts to give us more so that we can become the best journalism and communication training school in Africa. We also want to, lastly, we also want to ask you, Professor Mangeni, again, to request the principal that through her, we want to request the university to give us more staff. Like I said, we have now 3 MA programs, even though the other one will eventually wind out. And we have a PhD program, and we have an undergraduate program, one of the few that attracts the biggest number of students in the university. So when we come to her office to support this request, we request that she is as listening as she has always been. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to end my speech there, but thank you so much for having graced our occasion, and a very special welcome to our Pioneer MA class. Thank you very much. Now I have the honor to invite my Dean, Sauda Namyaro, to address you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Aisha Nashwala, Head Department of Journalism and Communication. The Principal, College of Humanities and Social Sciences, Professor Mangen, also dabbling as the Dean, School of Liberal and Performing Arts. Heads of departments here, Professor Edith Natukunda, Dr. Gilbert Gumushabe. There could be others whom I have not yet seen. The teaching staff, and specifically Professor Goreti Nasanga. I will tell you why. Non-teaching staff here present. Our invited guests, the keynote speakers, the media fraternity, our students, ladies and gentlemen. This occasion reminds me of Eri Wamala's song, Ani Yali Amanyi. Ani Yali Amanyi. I wish I could sing it for you, but who knew that journalism will be what it is today? At one time, it was an endangered department with almost no staff on ground. But today, we are talking of 13 PhDs and 2 more PhDs in the pipeline. So we really thank God that He has been on our side, and He has blessed us with people who have worked tirelessly to see this department evolving from that endangered state to where it is now. And among those is Professor Goreti Nasanga. And I would like to ask you to come and take the front seat here, please. You cannot talk of journalism in Uganda without mentioning her name. We are very proud of her. Yes, please take. Similarly, during those years when the department was going through waves, bumps, and all that, my brother William Tayoba was there to hold the department together. May I request you to join this table. Those two have done us good. They've been there for our department. All these 13 PhDs have gone through these two people. Similarly, one of the long-serving members of the department is my brother, Dr. Mbaine. He's one of those who you will find in the department from Monday to Friday. Quite often when I need something from the head of department and the phone is off, I'm sure Dr. Mbaine will be there to give me the information I need as Dean. On behalf of the university, I would like to thank you all, especially the lecturers in the Department of Journalism and Communication, for raising the flag so high that now we are recognized as the best department of journalism and communication in Africa. And I believe we can do much more. The challenge is now that we have 13 PhDs. I need to see more associate professors. I need to see more professors in this department. So please, let's now move away from the PhDs and now work towards becoming professors. Yes, writing a curriculum is not an easy task. It requires a lot of commitment. It requires people to do research, to benchmark, and you've already heard it from the head of department. So I thank you, Department of Journalism and its leadership, for the job well done. We can now proudly say that we are wearing the crown, not so? Equally, wish to thank the college principal. We're very grateful for your leadership. You've been there for us. As Aisha mentioned, we would present the curriculum, and then you take it through vetting, and then you bring it back. But at the end of the day, now we have our two masters, one in strategic and corporate communication, and another one in Masters of Journalism and Multimedia. And this is part of the bigger strategy for the school and the university to evolve into a research-led university. I think you've heard our VC talking about this, and many of people from management talking of Makerere becoming a research-led. So the school, as a school and as a department, we are positioning ourselves to become a research-led school of languages, literature, and communication. And we are still writing a number of MA programs. Recently, we had one launched in French language and French studies. Again, the first of its kind, and it was led by Professor Natukunda, our iron lady. Not iron that she's hard on people, but, sometimes I wonder how she really manages all these tasks around her, but she's a very strong lady. We are also writing another one in German studies. We are writing another MA in Arabic. We are writing another one in English language studies. I know you will wonder, don't you have a master's in English language studies? Yes, we had one, but we feel that it has outlived its usefulness, and now we are revising it. And I believe in the next 2-3 years, dear principal, we shall have close to 18 MA programs running in the school. Now to the pioneer students. I would like to, how many are here? Could you please stand up? For those who are joining either masters in strategic corporate communication, a hand clap for our pioneer students. Thank you very much. You can sit down. You are very, very welcome to the School of Languages, Literature, and Communication. And you're welcome to Makerere University, the only and only university. Don't report that. Don't report that. I may not be able to drive back home. Yeah, but you're welcome, and we are committed to working with you and taking you through up to the end. Like you've already heard, we have a department with almost only PhDs, because even these two have not yet gotten their PhDs. They will soon be graduating. So we are going to have, we have the capacity, we have the manpower, the woman and manpower on ground to ensure that we don't only teach you, but also supervise you. And where need be, there is always, people from the school to join the Department of Journalism to take you through supervision. The song in Makerere University has been that graduate students take almost 5, 6, 8 years before they are graduating. We are saying no under my leadership. If an MA is 2 years, it has to be 2 years. And we've been in meetings with heads of departments and trying to put in place all, everything that one needs to study properly. So please, we are prepared to receive you. We have the woman and manpower. I've just learned it from the head of department. And we have the libraries, we have the books, we are cooperating with different universities within the region and across. So there is no reason why you should do this course for more than 2 years. Should you have any problem, our doors are always open for you. We pledge our total support. And to our principal, like my head said, please, we still need equipment if we are going to make these 2 and other programs that are running, not only in the Department of Journalism, but the entire school running. We need computers. We need equipment of various types, given our varied disciplines that we have. And we also need a well-equipped computer laboratory. 20 computers with a population of 600 students, and where all courses are almost hands-on. I think that does not sell well in a university like Makerere University, which is the only university. So please take our message to the university management that we badly need a well-equipped computer laboratory. We need our radio back. I know there has been this suggestion that we come up with an online radio, which we are working on, but we still need our campus FM back. We will not get tired of singing the song till when we get it back. And I would like to request my students, especially you who are in the media fraternity, blow it up, continue demanding for our campus. Yes, you have the voice, you have the pen, you have, you can help us reclaim our frequency, which was given to a certain church that I will not mention. So I think really, to me, when I think it through, I think they did us some kind of an injustice. They should give us back our frequency so that we can run our campus radio. With those many words, I would like to thank you again and to request you that next time when we invite you, we are soon having the media convention in December 8th and 9th. Please come join us. We are going to have a school open day where we're going to showcase. Mr. Principal, we need money and support from your office. Thank you for coming, and I'm looking forward to listening to the 2 keynote speakers. And before I sit down, allow me to use this opportunity to invite the Principal, College of Humanities and Social Sciences, Professor Mangen, to come and address us. You're welcome, Prof.
Thank you very much, the Dean School of Languages, Literature, and Communication, our professors here, the heads of department, our keynote speakers, our pioneer students on the 2 master's programs that we are gratified to be here to launch today, and our students, staff, and all you whose capacity I cannot exhaust. I want to say welcome, and it's a pleasure that we are here this afternoon. I'm representing the Principal College of Humanities and Social Sciences, who has not been able to be with us today because of another engagement. But I just want to reassure you that the principal is in the house, and so you shouldn't worry at all. The office is fully represented here. I wouldn't want you to misquote me as rehearsing to fit in the shoes of my boss, but I think my shoes are also big enough. Okay, thank you very much. At the Department of Journalism and Communication, we want to say thank you for the effort that you have made over time to bring us to this day, and want to appreciate the growth of this unit. Today's occasion here is an effort that started a long time ago, and not just with the designing of the program. The head of department talked of the growth of the department, and also giving us an idea of where they concretely want to be to become a school. And I think if we are to say that the School of Languages, Literature and Communication is the mother, would say that the mother would be glad to see a child growing, you know. And I think that's really fundamental. You see, a little bit of history. The Department of Journalism and Communication started 1988. But the conversations about the beginning of this department were about 1987 or thereabouts. I was a student of the School of Education. I trained as a teacher of geography and performing arts. And I heard from my teachers, the late Rosenbauer, there was a conversation to begin journalism and communication. But who was to take care of journalism and communication? At that time, the only unit in the Faculty of Arts that was teaching something connected with the media, and that was mainly television production, radio. And radio was under paper 4 of professional specialization in the diploma in music, dance, and drama, because that's when they would invite, they would have people from the media to come and take that performing arts course, which had that area of professional specialization. So they said, no, I think now, performing arts, then MDD, could you mother this unit? At that time, Professor Kakoma was the head of department. And so once they completed that conversation, when they went to the next Faculty of Arts board to receive a report, perhaps Kakoma had forgotten, or perhaps his one being a musician, who might have wondered what it has to do with journalism. But the elements of television production were being taught under the drama department. So when they went to the board, and again performing arts was not owning, they invited literature to take leadership, because literature was the mother of performing arts. The diploma in drama started in literature before it grew into the diploma in music and dance and drama, and into the bachelor's degrees that we have. So that's just a bit of the history of journalism. And I remember, is it Professor Chidubuka who was the first, yes, I still recall that. At that time, I'd also joined as a staff. And I recall some of our first students was Stephen Shalita, one of the first cohort. Dr. Rugarambi, Onapito, was Onapito? That's a subsequent one. Yeah, the second cohort. So it's beautiful to grow, you know, to let the children grow. And I want to also assure you that the principal will welcome this possibility of us growing. And it's really quite gratifying that as we celebrate 100 years, the pioneers of this particular course will be the centennial babies, you know, and that's quite important. And we want to thank you for this great delivery. And the issue of completing on time, really we should feel good about completing on time. I recall when I was a student in Griffith University, Australia, when I went the first meeting with my professor, he told me my date of graduation. Is this the day you are scheduled to graduate? So everything we worked going backwards and say your exit day is this, and it had to be that. And I think we want to embrace the commitment of the Dean of the School of Languages and Literature and Communication, and I think that is the way to go. I know Senate has passed a program that will be run in the school that I had, where we're going to have the masters in 1 year. And that should be, because where we went to Leeds and other areas, for those of you who started out, is 1 year, you know, and we come here and perform. So if it is 2 years, let it be 2. If it is 1, let it be 1. And the college certainly will support our all units towards that. Now, just as I move on, there was a point of the equipment. Yes, certainly this is a conversation that I'm going to continue with the principal, and personally I understand. For my master's in the University of Leeds, I did uses of theater and majored also in television production. And I know what equipment means. I know what it means to have a fully functioning and well-equipped studio. When I've been out to the university, Kenyatta University and Dar es Salaam University as an external examiner, you just go to Kenyatta, for example, and look at their multimedia studio, because the School of Performing Arts was under the same school where journalism was, and even Dar es Salaam University, because Dar es Salaam University also had its radio station and its television station. And these are just minimum standards that we would expect, and something that certainly I'm going to add my voice to. I'll just finally on the point of the programs that we are beginning. And this just goes all for all the programs that we are learning. I think we have got a responsibility and a commitment to provide quality and to provide value. When the media space was liberalized, this is one area where you go to quite a number of people, including improvisers, you know, getting into these particular spaces. And whereas legislation might try to help and realign people, take them for training also, there is a category that is going to be around and to keep around. And perhaps our contribution as a unit would be to see in what ways we can be able to enhance those that are out in the field and practicing, but also to ensure that what we take out has got quite a big degree of quality in it. Which just takes me back, there's an entry book I'm working on. I used to host a writers program on UBC called, there was one time something called UTV. It was UTV, not UBC. And I used to host a program, Writers Dawn. And I had the privilege then to host nearly all the prominent journalists at that time. The Joachim Wembos, the Lillian Varenzi, and that cohort. And so I'm just trying to look back at those interviews and trying to transform them into something. And I was recalling my interview with Andrew Menda. I think I just finished handling, there's this one who used to do the fashion, I think she passed on. That was my first person interview. But when I was just yesterday looking at my interview with Andrew Menda, and he was, he talked about the need for accuracy, and also that there are some mistakes at times they make. At that time, he was heading the investigative department at Monitor. It had just been started, perhaps running for about 6 months. And he quoted the story of Jet Mwebeze and the helicopter that came down. Perhaps you might remember that. And there were issues of inaccuracies there. But what he really tried to emphasize is the duty and the responsibility of the industry and the practitioners to try to get your stories as accurately as they can, and as you can. And he really listed the procedures that one can take for you to have a story out, a story that has been checked. Of course, there can be errors here and there, but that there must, and there's a need to be a commitment on our part, or the people who are teaching, and on the products that we are sending out there, because every story that you send out has got the potential to impact on somebody's life, but is also significant in as far as it helps to grow and deepen our profession. Now, with those words, once more, I would like to thank you, the Department of Journalism and Communication, for this two-degree master's program, the Master of Strategic and Corporate Communication and the Master of Journalism and Multimedia. We are proud of you, but above all, we really appreciate the effort for the journey that you have made, but through very deliberate efforts. And we pray that we'll keep out that spirit, and want to commit the support of the college to you as a department, and to the school as we build for the future. Thank you very much.
Loud applause for the principal. Thank you very much. So here comes Mr. Dalton Kawesa, the news manager at NBS TV. You are welcome. Yes, I would like to express our appreciation for our chair of the Department of Journalism and Communication, our beloved Dean of the School of Languages, Literature and Communication, and the principal in the name of Professor Patrick Mangeni, and while the principal was ending his remarks, we received our beloved Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of Academic Affairs, Professor Uma Kakumba, who we are always happy to see in this department, school, and college. Professor, you are welcome, and we are delighted to have you here. Some applause, please. Yeah. You are welcome once again, Professor Kakumba. Professor, we had just listened to the remarks from the chair of the Department of Journalism and Communication, the dean of the School of Languages, Literature and Communication, and the principal of the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. And we beg your indulgence to proceed with the program because as scheduled, you will be speaking later to us. Now, we are going into the second phase of our official launch today, and we are going to listen to two keynote addresses. The reason we brought in some people to speak to you in these keynote addresses, especially the students who are embarking on these master's programs, is because we want also to help you to see the future, both the future and the present. And so, because you may sometimes register for a program and wonder where this is taking you. So we brought to you two distinguished people, well balanced in gender. Professor Natkunda, we never forget your lessons in gender. And they are going to speak to us, and each one will speak to us in about 15 or 20 minutes. The first one is Miss Gloria Sebikari. Miss Gloria Sebikari is a distinguished alumnus of this department and university. because in 2005, she was the first lady and the second person to crack a first-class degree in mass communication. She was the first lady and the second person to get a first-class degree in mass communication. All of us before us, including Dr. George Rugaram, had failed to crack a first class. In the previous years, despite the hard work we put in, Dr. Charlotte here was firing on all cylinders when she was a student, and she came very, very close, but never made it. And Gloria Sebikari, after Amos Ziksoka in 2002, cracked a first class. And she was a very good omen, because the following year, 3 ladies got a first class in the program in 2006. So she opened the door. I'm sure Professor Natkunda will want to buy you a cup of coffee in subsequent days. Yeah, so Miss Gloria Sebikard then went on to work with the NSSF, but she's done most of her work in the oil and gas sector for probably 10 years or 12 years or so. And now she's the manager corporate affairs for the Petroleum Authority of Uganda. She did her master's degree in oil communication at the Robert Gordon University, Aberdeen in Scotland. So, Gloria, you are welcome to your alma mater, and please come and speak to us. If somebody does a master's degree in strategic and corporate communication, where are they more likely to end up if they do quite well? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mbaine. I feel like I'm back in the first year class. I see so many of my lecturers around, and I am privileged to be here this afternoon, so thank you very much. The Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Umar Kakumba, the representative of the Principal of the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, Professor Patrick Mangeni, the Dean of the School of Languages, Literature and Communication, Dr. Sauda Namyalo, the Chair, Department of Journalism and Communication, Dr. Nachwala Aisha Sembatia, the faculty represented here, the pioneer students for the MA programs, ladies and gentlemen. Whenever I'm called to speak, where possible, I usually skip the protocol. But today, with so many distinguished people in the room, doctors and professors, I selfishly decided to recognize and try and go through the protocol. And maybe one day, soon, I will be given an honorary doctorate. That is my pitch. I would like to thank the department, my home, where I started my career, the Department of Journalism and Communication, for inviting me, and of course, by extension, the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, to be part of this milestone where you're launching the Master of Strategic and Corporate Communication and the Master of Journalism at Makerere University. Sorry, Journalism and Multimedia here at Makerere University. Firstly, as Dr. Mbaine mentioned, as a proud alumnus of this great institution, I congratulate Makerere for attaining a century of excellence in building a transformed society. Many of us in our different professional spheres that are contributing to this country started our career journey at this great institution, so we are proud to be associated. And indeed, the launch of these 2 programs signifies the great strides that the university is taking to ensure excellence in the professional landscape here in Uganda, and more specifically the communication field. So when I received the invitation to make this keynote address, specifically they asked me to focus on the Master of Strategic and Corporate Communication. I was delighted, and for a long time I've had several thoughts on the place of professional communication in Uganda, and these thoughts have just remained in my head. So I'm glad to share these thoughts with you. But then again, I also realized that speaking about communication is not in my comfort zone. Though I studied communication for 3 years plus 1 year at master's, and then I've worked for almost 17 years. It's not in my comfort zone to talk about communication. I'm more comfortable talking about the oil and gas sector. But the invitation from Dr. Aisha was specific. She wanted me to talk about the Masters of Strategic Communication, Strategic and Corporate Communication. So I hope you'll give me another platform to speak about the oil and gas sector, because a lot is going on. It's a topic of interest. There are so many discussions. So I contemplated asking, can I sneak in a few things here and there? But I won't do that because we would stay here for the whole afternoon. So I'll stick to the focus of today's event, which for me specifically is the MA in Strategic and Corporate Communication. As you all know, I'm not an academic. I have the basic academic qualifications. So my thoughts and my sentiments are largely based on my journey in the communication profession, which spans close to 17 years in different public sector institutions, as Dr. Mbaine mentioned. Just like Dr. Sauda Namyalo said, the School of Journalism has grown within the university. And so the growth of the Department of Journalism here can be likened to the landscape and the growth of the communication profession in Uganda. And just like in many African countries, we are seeing a growing recognition of the importance of strategic communication. Our aspirations as a country for transformation, as stated in our National Development Plan 3, I won't go through them, and each of the programs within the National Development Plan, whether it's talking about petroleum development, human capital development, energy security, etc., looks at the place of communication in our broader development as a country. So what is the place of communication? Communication needs to translate all these big things, all these big concepts, objectives, aspirations to reality, to what the everyday person, the common man, the Ugandan can relate to. So our work in strategic communication is to translate all our aspirations into reality for the everyday person. Therefore, as government works with different partners, private sector, development partners to achieve this socio-economic transformation, strategic communication is taking center stage. This was not the case decades ago. I recall when I was preparing for my university education, communication was not at the top of the list of courses that people advised me to take. As an arts student, it was either law or social work. And I think many of you can relate with that, because those are the professions that at that time seemed to come out. The communicators were there, but they were in the background or in the kitchen. Professor Mangeni mentioned Reverend Stephen Shalita, who I must say was one of my mentors earlier on in my career. I followed his professional journey for a while, and he's one of the people that inspired me to do communication. So even after I graduated from the university in 2005, 2006, the easiest placement for communications people is and was in the newsroom and not in institutions. So without a doubt, as we all know, the newsroom offers career-long lessons for either someone going for journalism or someone going into public relations or corporate communication. In my journey, I skipped this important step. I didn't go to the newsroom. I skipped straight to the corporate communication in NSSF, Ministry of Energy, and the Petroleum Authority of Uganda now. So for a long time, you find that most government entities, specifically ministries, did not have a communication function on the structure, or if the function was there, it was maybe not fully utilized. I recall in one of the entities, I won't mention which one, when I was recruited, one of the colleagues I was reporting to said, "We've gotten a minute secretary for our meeting." So I stopped and thought and said, did Dr. Mbaine and Dr. Marjorie teach me how to take minutes? But that was the status quo then. You find that most of the time communications people are recruited either as in projects or were outside the main structure, and so communication did not have a seat on the decision-making process. Even then, as communicators, we reported to technical functions. So you find that at the level where there is a manager or a commissioner or a director, there are like 3 levels, then the first communication person. And so we are not yet at the strategic level. This is still true in some entities, and in my experience, it has its pros and cons. The plus side for me was that it gave me a huge learning opportunity, especially when I joined the oil and gas sector. There was a lot to learn, a lot to do, and working with technical people who understand the depth and breadth of the sector was a plus for me. There are times when I would go out to speak and they would ask me, "Are you a geologist? Are you a geoscientist?" because of the exposure I got from working with technical people. So I think for us as communications people, we have to make the best out of any situation in the professional arena, even as we strive to go up. However, I'm glad to note this trend has largely changed in many institutions and especially in government ministries. Over the years, they have established independent and professional communication units, so departments that are benchmarked on corporate entities. You'll forgive me, I'll speak a lot about government because that's where my experience lies, but we all know that in private sector, in banks, telecoms, communication is highly regarded, so it's already at a strategic level. So when we talk about, for me, when I speak about strategic communication, I'm seeing how can we find our place or consolidate our place, especially in the public sector. Therefore, right now, just like in many private sector institutions and parastatals, the communication function is increasingly part of the management role and has gained recognition as a strategic function. This therefore makes the master's program in strategic and corporate communication even more relevant, because we have people that have for a long time been at the peripheral doing the communication work, but now they're getting into boardrooms, they're getting into management, and they need the guidance that starts with academic qualifications. This program must therefore prepare and enable communication professionals to understand the role of strategic communication in achieving organizational objectives and the overall development aspirations of our country. Because if as communication we are not contributing at a strategic level, if our value is not being seen at a strategic level, then we will be pushed out or we'll have a seat but with no impact. With the rise in technological developments and the various new media platforms, strategic communication also offers pathways for institutions to remain responsive to the changing needs of stakeholders and the communication landscape. For example, we no longer have to wait for the dailies, New Vision. Mr. Don, you're welcome. We no longer have to wait for the dailies in the morning to receive breaking news. You find that even the dailies now have very versatile digital platforms. You don't have to wait for a report to hear about an incident in a community for us whose work is mainly down with the local communities. Or you don't have to wait for the 8 p.m. news to hear what is happening in the EU Parliament. The news is all at our fingertips. Most of the COVID-19 pandemic showed us the possibilities and the importance of technology in facilitating communication. Just go back pre-COVID and think of how many webinars, e-conferences, e-meetings you attended prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. Very few, and yet these technologies were in existence. If you're like me, it was maybe one teleconference call in 2 years or one Skype interview, from a foreign media house. We were not fully utilizing the existing technologies. Even with the lifting of the lockdowns, live streaming and e-events continue to be the norm. Technology has therefore changed the communication landscape, and the communication profession must be even more dynamic in utilizing technology to achieve the strategic objectives. When we talk of strategic communication, it's a very broad field. It integrates different specializations in the communication arena. We have marketing and advertising, brand management, media relations, public relations, stakeholder engagement, social responsibility, or what is now known as ESG, environment and social governance. So the list is endless. All these have to be incorporated as we talk about strategic communication. Equally important is that it explores the capacity of all institutions, all organizations, and here we are not only talking about private corporations, but we are looking at the not-for-profit organizations like NGOs, activist groups, and government to be engaged in focused communication. At the end of this all, strategic communication must be purposeful enough to contribute to the achievement of the organization's mission. And this I will emphasize time and time again, for communication to be strategic, it has to be linked to the mission or the goal of the organization or the country. The MA in Strategic and Corporate Communication therefore has a task of equipping the students with the knowledge and skills to further cement the value and place of communication as a strategic function. We must strive to maintain our seat at the table that we have long demanded for and now have in different fields by showing the value of communication. I note that the program incorporates different facets of strategic communication. It has a mix of theory and research. Makerere is big on research, as was noted by Dr. Sauda, practice and multimedia approaches. It's also good to note that the current trends related to global communication, health and environment communication are covered within this program. I also want to emphasize two other areas that need to be considered. One is public diplomacy, and another one is ESG, as I mentioned, environment and social governance. Why are these two important? Because even the banks that we work with, the telecommunication companies that we work with, and all other institutions have now started putting ESG at the center of their operations. You have to be a responsible business, and you have to be seen and show, and in your practice, be responsible. The course must therefore equip students with the required skills and knowledge that are in tune with these current issues. Of course, we all know that the world is a global village, and so we must look at the Sustainable Development Goals. When we talk about ESG, when we talk about public diplomacy, how do we respond to the current issues that the world is grappling with? There are also challenges when it comes to communication. So we must be prepared to address these challenges that are related to creating awareness in order to achieve this sustainable development that we are all chasing after. We must be able to address information gaps, but also address the misinformation. There's a lot of false information, fake news out there, and so corporations must have strategies to look at this. There's also a lot of disinformation where you have entities deliberately sharing information that they know is fake. And so we have to prepare the students, prepare the professionals to be able to deal with the misinformation and the disinformation. So our curriculum, as was earlier mentioned, needs to go beyond building knowledge to giving students practical skills to enhance their professional visibility. Professional visibility is very important in communication because it looks at the impact, but also the getting recognition for the impact you're having. It's not enough for us to be equipped with knowledge, but we must be able to apply the knowledge to address some of these challenges and bring value. The curriculum should also emphasize practical training and the current practice of strategic communication in different sectors. Of course, for master's programs, they are rarely internships, but I think workplace mentors can be encouraged because the Department of Journalism and Communication is home to many professionals that are leading strategic communication in different entities, and therefore they can be a useful resource in linking the classroom learning to present-day practice. So the alumni should help in enhancing the curriculum as the programs are implemented. As we advance to middle-income status as a country, strategic communication is required for us to translate our development aspirations to all stakeholders. We must play our role and continue preparing both the current and next generation of communicators to be up to the task. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to conclude by emphasizing 3 points that I hope that have come clearly through my remarks. One is that strategic communication must support achievement of organization goals and development aspirations. If we are not linked to these overall objectives in the different institutions or the country's aspirations, then communication will not be strategic. Strategic communication must address the challenges related to information gaps, misinformation, and disinformation, which only is increasing in light of the digital media age. Then lastly, it's important to link the classroom learning to present-day practice. And I hope the alumni who are online or who read the news or who are with us today will support these two programs. In conclusion, I would like to thank the management of Makerere University for sustaining the high standards, and we all know that Makerere University is research-driven, so we commend the university for sustaining research-led programs. I congratulate the Department of Journalism and Communication on these milestones. It's an honor for me, out of the alumni and the Sea of Professional Communications in Uganda, to give this keynote address, especially at a time when we are celebrating 100 years of excellence in Makerere University. I encourage my fellow communication professionals to make the most out of this opportunity by either enrolling for the program or supporting the department to enrich the curriculum and join the fundraising drive so that we can have a department that we are even prouder of. Thank you for God and my country.
Thank you. I think Professor Natkunda will lead a second applause. Yes, thank you so much, Gloria Sebikari. I'm sure we are all satisfied with her performance here, and we thank her for delivering a very, very instructive keynote to us. We've been taking notes. I even saw the Deputy Vice Chancellor taking notes. It is not usual that, Gloria, it is not usual that you see a professor and vice chancellor, a deputy vice chancellor of a university like Makerere taking notes about what you are saying. So we thank you very much and congratulate you on educating all of us about these very key subjects. Several people were taking notes. We appreciate the recommendations you made, and we'll think about them and mainstream them into our teaching and instruction. I would like to introduce Mr. Don Wanyama, our proud alumnus. We are very proud of you, and we thank you for finding the time to come and join us. Mr. Don Wanyama graduated from the master's program not long ago, and shortly after that, he was elevated to his current status. So we share in his success in a very, very functional way. I would also like to introduce our other proud alumnus, and that is Mr. Stephen Mwanga, the president of the Public Relations Association of Uganda, PRAU. We thank you very much for coming. Mr. Mwanga works with the Parliament of Uganda, and he's very spirited about issues of professional communication, and has been the president of PRAU for a while now. You are very, very welcome, and we look forward to a very, very lively and beneficial relationship between the department and PRAU. I think we have already worked on some collaboration, whose implementation was delayed by COVID and similar impediments, but I think we can now go full throttle in trying to actualize our aspirations on both sides. So we thank you, and you are welcome. Gloria has spoken to us, and we are now going to listen to Dr. George William Rugarambi in the second keynote address according to our schedule. Dr. George Rugarambi is a very interesting personality because he even taught me, and I am not young. Yeah, but George Rugarambi was a pioneer, or is a pioneer, of the mass communication program in 1988. This is 34 years ago. Yes, so when the program opened its doors to 20 students, Dr. Rugarambi was one of them. And I think him, I'm not very sure of him first, but him and Frederick Msoke were the best students. As a matter of fact, they are the only people who got second-class upper degrees in that cohort, and both of them were retained by the program to teach. So that's how Dr. George Rugarambi came to teach me. And shortly after that, he went to the University of Leicester in the United Kingdom and did his master's degree in communication, focusing on health communication actually, in mass communication, focusing on health communication, and then returned to the department and served until later he went to the great Pennsylvania State University in the United States, where he completed a PhD in political communication in 2005 or 6, if I remember correctly, and then came back and taught at the department, and even became the head of department for about 3 years before he went into the rest of the world. In the days gone by, we used to call them greener pastures, but it seems the pastures have been coming a little greener in Makerere. We attempted to interest him to return in later years, but I think the chair has been holding a conversation with him. I don't know what will happen, but we hope that it will be fruitful in the fullness of time. But currently, Dr. George Rugarambi, among other things, works as the executive director of the African Center for Media Excellence, ACME, and is also the national facilitator for the international training program funded by CEDA, which has helped a lot of us. I'm a beneficiary of that program. They train us in issues of the media in a democratic framework. And so far, I think we have 5 groups of 5 that have benefited from this program. So Dr. George Rugarambi also worked in the media for several years. Various newspapers, Weekly Topic, The Crusader, and so on. And so he's a very experienced pair of hands when it comes to issues of journalism and multimedia. And so when we wanted somebody to speak about these issues, we could look no further than Dr. George Rugarambi, who has 30 years or so of experience to boot in this particular field. So please join me in welcoming Dr. George William Rugarambi to speak to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adolf. I appreciate that introduction. And I remember for some reason, Marjorie called me yesterday and he was asking me about something in the department in 1988. And she was asking, who are I don't know, I think she was doing some research, who were the lecturers then, who was who, and I was, fascinated. I could actually just sort of, it was actually interesting to think back that many years ago, to remember some of the people who were there in the department. And I also remember, I think in 2011, we had quite some situation in the department. There was an association that was called Makerere University Mass Communication Association. And I think I was the pioneer president of that association. So many years later, when I became the head of department, I realized that I was in trouble, because that very association, was agitating for lots of things that I could not provide as the head of department. So I remember students coming over and saying, we need this, we need that, this equipment, and everything wasn't there. And I remember one of the students, I think it was Alan Chobe, Senyonga at UNRA, and he said, well, we are bringing this issue to you as the grandfather of mass communication. So within 3 months of that claim that I was the grandfather of mass communication, I decided that my time was up. So within 3 months, my resignation was in, and I was out of Makerere, because I think I knew for sure that I had outlived my usefulness. So I'm not as polished in corporate communication as Gloria is, so I will ignore all the protocol by stating that all protocol is observed. And so, Dr. Professor Kakumba, it's a pleasure to meet again. I remember those days when you were in the graduate school, and we're also there trying, to, make all sorts of appeals. Some of the very same stories, about establishment and lobbying and so on and so forth. But I'm glad that the university and the department has come to a point where a lot of these challenges have been overcome. Now I'm going to focus my talk or conversation on 3 areas, and I hope I can go through them very quickly. And I do recognize in the media fraternity, within the academia, Dr. Nachiwala, we do, even outside academia, we continue to collaborate, research, and so those that we're doing on research and behavior research social and behavior change. Some of those ideas I hope will be included in the curriculum, and I think some of the recommendations we made in the study we did for the USAID project on SBC will really come alive in that strategic communication program, which I think is a great opportunity. So I'll focus my presentation around 3 areas. One is the current journalism and multimedia terrain in Uganda and elsewhere in view of the rapid technological developments. I will also speak to the issue of the skills and knowledge that are required of current and future journalists, and if time permits, I will also speak to the training curriculum, the issues and developments within the discipline of journalism and communication, but specifically journalism and multimedia that institutions like Makerere should pay attention to. Now, I think all of us, live journalism one way or the other, or live, with the media one way or the other. So I would like to start by very briefly describing what I see as the media landscape today, which I'm pretty sure you're all familiar with. So for one, we know that technology is constantly evolving, and handheld devices such as smartphones are now the most dynamic tools for receiving and imparting and creating information. We know that newspapers circulation has either stagnated or tanked by and large, although they are also outliers in terms of newspapers that have been able to raise their circulation. So it's not really all that bad as it might appear sometimes. We also know that television has grown and is taking over as a news medium. The premise of convergence, I think newsrooms talk a lot about convergence, or what they call digital first. But we know that that journey is a little bit sometimes inconsistent. I think it's not as efficient as you would want it to be, especially on the side, on the payment side. I remember trying, to make payments and get on the apps for New Vision and Daily Monitor, and they were really extremely clunky. But lately, I think, there is those platforms have become a lot better, actually, even in terms of accessing, the hard copies on mobile. We know that journalists today are active on social media, but this has also raised a whole new set of questions. For instance, one of the questions is that where should journalists who are on social media break news fast? Are there any standards they should hold themselves to? Or is it all about amassing and exciting followers? We know that radio has the widest reach in Uganda, but radio remains largely an entertainment medium. It reminds me of the phenomenon that Dr. Monica Chibita described as the survival of the entertaining guest. So that is how Monica Chibita described it, the survival of the entertaining guest, talking about the opening up of the airwaves and so on and so forth. We know that online news platforms have increased people's access to and flow of information, but they also raise a lot of questions about ethical practice. We know that media and business, the relationship between media and business and media and politics are quite complex today. And finally, we are also aware that media viability is a serious concern. In Uganda, most radio stations outside the major markets, the major metropolitan markets around Kampala, don't make that much money as businesses. So in light of the picture I have described or painted, I think it's very important not to treat journalism like a fetish, and I will explain a little bit. Because whereas technological and social changes have turned journalism on its head, especially as practiced through the main media, and the fact that we know that so the point is that why it's important not to treat journalism as a fetish is that technology, we know, has changed the game. And we know that journalism is no longer practiced as it used to be in the mainstream media. But we know that digital media are not vessels for journalism, the way we know it. you know, and they are not vessels for journalism the way it has been practiced for the last 150 years. Twitter, for instance, is the place where the elite go to share an opinion on the news, right? That is not journalism in my view. Sharing an opinion, whether it's by a journalist or whatever, it's not really journalism. Rupert Murdoch, the Australian-American media mogul, said that the invention of the World Wide Web, with the invention of the World Wide Web, everyone with an internet connection has now become a global town crier. TikTok, for example, became popular when suburban white kids in the United States appropriated dance moves of black children in the US. So they packaged these moves into 15-minute video clips, and then they started sharing them on TikTok. Because as we know, TikTok is a Chinese platform. And we didn't know much about it until, you know, these white kids in the US watching, you know, their, black kids doing these dance moves, and then they begin capturing them and repackaging them for TikTok in these, short video clips. And as we know today, as they said, the rest is history with regard to TikTok. And so you can go on and on about all these social media platforms. WhatsApp and Facebook went from being channels for relatives and friends to share personal news. And they became platforms, sometimes I think, for the worst of human behavior. Cyber abuse, conspiracy theories, and other forms of madness are widespread on these platforms. This is, I think, what Michelle Obama said of leadership once. She said that, leadership, does not change people, but leadership reveals who you are. And I think if we can paraphrase that in the case of social media, the social media doesn't change who we are. It doesn't change who you are. It reveals who you are. The people that are tweeting, social media has basically revealed who these people are. We just didn't know who these people are. But I think with all these platforms, we can now tell who is who. So that is, I think, why you really need to be extremely careful what you put out there on social media, because it's a window into who you are. It's a window into your psyche, and into the person you are. So these technological changes have done us a favor by amplifying and underlining actual journalism, as distinguished from commentary, from entertainment, and from clickbaiting. YouTube and broadcasting are perhaps the two models that come closest to reimagining news in line with these rapid technological changes. YouTube allows news organizations to reconnect with old audiences and to connect with new ones. And podcasting in particular allows for the creation of audio packages similar to radio features that are suitable and convenient for direct sharing on the internet. So that is, I think, for those of you who are now starting into these programs and those of you who are already practicing in the media, that I believe is the kind of scenario the kind of media ecosystem that you find yourselves in. So now let me now speak to the issue of the skills and knowledge that are required of current and future journalists. I want also to start by painting a sort of profile of the current and future journalists. So, and I want to speak, to specific journalists that I have in mind, and this could be any journalist. So, this is the kind of journalist that possesses the mind of a curator who sifts through the rubble of information to create meaning. So, in other words, as a journalist, you are a curator. You say, like, you visit a museum or an exhibition, you find art pieces, you find artworks. There has been, it's not that someone went onto the street and simply collected art pieces and put them in a museum. The role of a curator is to have a philosophy, is to have a mind, is to have a clear objective why a particular piece of art has been included in a museum show or an exhibition for that matter. And precisely, this is what a journalist does. As a curator of information, you are confronting a whole rubble of information out there, and your job is to make sense of that information and create meaning out of it. We know that the kind of journalist that we want to see graduating out of this program is not a journalist who is a single source beat reporter who builds stories around comments of newsmakers, collecting comments. This whole idea, katudile mu Luganda, you know, so it simply doesn't cut it. You know, sometimes I feel for guys at the media center, you know, and you know they gave whatever they have made. Katudile mu Luganda. I think it just doesn't cut it. I think the journalists that we are talking about today, in Monitor, NBS, New Vision, or whatever, you need to domesticate an area of focus or an area of primary interest for your journalism. And having done so, nurture the competence in that area through continuing journalism education, and also do so by embracing and tackling increasingly complex reporting assignments. So you need to have an area that you domesticate. We talk about specialization, but specialization doesn't mean exclusion. But having an area that you're passionate about, where you can become the newsroom expert, I think is very important. And so as you go through your training in journalism and multimedia, you may like to think about that. It's also important that this journalist appreciates that traditional news gathering and old-fashioned reporting and writing capabilities remain critical. Listening is still very important. Taking notes is very important. Recording is very important. Interviewing skills and asking questions are still very, very important. I think it's very important to take notes. Even a very basic thing like handing over your notebook to your source and asking them to write their name is so important, because we get it so wrong, and it can be extremely annoying when we get those basic facts wrong. Yet you could simply hand over, you know, or even ask someone to spell their name. You know, it doesn't make you look stupid at all. In fact, it makes you look smart. If you ask me that, you know, how do you spell your name? How do you pronounce your name? And I'll pronounce it for you as Lugalambi, not Rugarambi, as it often happens. So it's important to be proficient in multimedia techniques, especially visual storytelling, but also maintaining a calculated presence. And I use this term advisedly, calculated presence on social media, and use it intelligently. You know, maintain a calculated presence on social media and use it intelligently. The last thing you want to do as an anchor of the news is to make a fool of yourself on social media, because that translates into the image that you project for your station, for your channel on the screen. And so the transformative nature of technology implies that journalists are no longer guaranteed to be the first to break the news. In fact, sometimes they're not even the second or even the third to receive and disseminate news. In the worst case scenario, they're sometimes actually the last to know. Today's journalists must be trained not to just tell the story, but to wrap up the story, to make sense of it, in other words. Journalistic sense-making involves explaining, being intentional about debunking untruths, lifting the lid on fake news, bringing perspective and context to bear on issues, and lending an authoritative voice to the story. The familiar 5 W's and H and the inverted pyramid can no longer be the primary anchors of stories. They're still important, but they're only the starting point. To engage audiences meaningfully, the so what is an important question that journalists must find answers to. This is not only possible after some reflection, because reflection is very important. So this is important after some reflection. On the second day after stuff has happened, when tempers have cooled down, when moods have settled, and the storm has passed. So this is what is referred to figuratively in the newsrooms as day two journalism. You know, that moment of reflection, stuff has happened, moods have settled. You know, that reflection that happens, how do you make sense of things? So that is what I refer to as journalistic sense-making. So because I think that is the kind of journalism that will distinguish your reporting and analysis from the reporting and analysis by bloggers, citizen journalists, with due respect to citizen journalists, by the pundits, by the TikTokers, and the Twitterati, that whole army of people operating on Twitter. Now, consuming news and current affairs, the practice of reading newspapers, watching TV newscasts, listening to radio news bulletins, these are no longer, as we know, on the priority to-do list of many people. The reasons include that many people with purchasing power are more aspirational today because they have more choices. People with basic needs are juggling competing demands, and the typical media consumer generally has access to alternative platforms. With public attention such a scarce commodity, journalists must earn their space and the right to interject in the lives of people who are busy and flat out stressed. Because I think at the end of the day, all of us are stressed by one thing or the other. Traffic, whatever is going on in your life, school and so on and so forth. So people can be quite stressed. So, and it doesn't matter whether they're younger or older folks, so there is a lot going on in people's lives. So how do you justify the right to interject your journalism into the lives, of these people? I believe that a journalism that dwells on conveying bad news and negativity neither wins nor inspires audiences. In fact, it puts people off. And I remember a discussion with Barbara Kaija, at the New Vision, and she was asking, what exactly do really people want? And I think by and large, it's very clear that, negativity simply kills people. So there has to be, I think, a more creative way of finding stories and telling stories that uplift and empower people. So I would suggest that captains of the news industry must figure out a healthy balance between journalism that vigorously and consistently holds people to power to account, and journalism that points people to solutions and elevates their agency. I dare say that the skills and knowledge of present and future journalists, need do not necessarily have to be about technological adaptation, because I think there is also a tendency, this is what I was saying, that it's not so good to fetishize technology, to treat technology as a cult. And I think there is also a danger of going that way. While at the same time, even while journalism has suffered, we also have to avoid treating journalism as a cult. So, and I think the same applies to technology. And this program really shouldn't treat technology, as a fetish or as a cult, that everything must be about adaptation to technology. I think everything has to be about storytelling. In other words, it is almost more of the same. How do we tell the current stories and use the technology to tell these stories in a more compelling fashion? I believe that a story will be great for New Vision, for Daily Monitor, for NBS, for NTV, UBC, or CBS, or The Observer, Chimp Reports, PML Daily, Soft Power News, and any media platform, as long as it is well-sourced, it's balanced, it's fair, and it's delivered compellingly. And the same applies if that story is on social media. It's especially important for journalists to distinguish themselves from non-professionals. I like Professor Mangene's term, the improvisers, the unprofessionals. So it's important for you to distinguish yourself from non-professionals by using social media to promote your good journalism and not to join in mob rule debates and public opinion kangaroo courts where anonymity drives abuse and vitriol. In fact, one of the most important tenets present-day and future journalists must relearn is the importance of evidence. There are a couple of things. One is the importance of evidence. Another one is the sense of fairness. And the third is the importance of sourcing stories. Otherwise, if you don't do that, if you don't really take evidence seriously, you're not different from those who have become famous for abusing political and social processes for their own good. All said and done, the centrality of politics shouldn't be underestimated. If you look at social media platforms, you realize that they thrive on politics. In the US, Donald Trump made Twitter famous by essentially using it to run the US government, because you don't want, running
someone running a government on Twitter. And of course, that was until he was kicked off. Islamic State became famous for its slick YouTube videos, videos of beheadings, you know, of people they treated, they considered to be infidels. So we must not make the mistake of thinking that politics is not important. I think politics is important. But ultimately, the goal is to make journalism worthwhile for its consumers. And we know that good journalism is expensive. It costs money, but it also sells itself. There is a reason why the Wall Street Journal, for instance, or the New York Times, and the Washington Post, which are all American bastions of independent journalism, there is a reason why they charge at least $10 per month for use of their for use of their website, to access their websites, and they have thrived on that business model. And I believe, you know, I would pay for New Vision, Monitor, for all these platforms. I would pay any time if you know, the platforms made it easy, you know, to use mobile money and so on and so forth. You know, because we subscribe to all these others because they make it really, really easy. I do subscribe to the Digital New York Times, and after some time, at some point, I wanted to stop my subscription. And then they called and they said that, okay, how much would you like to pay? You know, and because I started subscribing when they had a promo, so I think I was paying like $4 a month. And so they said, well, after that, then you'll have to go back to the real thing. I think it was about $10 per month. I said, no, I'm out. So they called, you know, and they said, so how much would you like to pay? I said, well, I can pay $5 a month. They said, that's fine. So you pay your $5, but after a year, you'll go back to the $10. I said, yes. So when they call again after the end of the year, I'll negotiate again, and I'll continue subscribing. And I believe, you know, there's absolutely no reason why, if the platforms made it easy for us to use mobile money and all these payment systems, why we wouldn't pay for our news, because I think it's worth paying for. Now, let me tackle very briefly the last area, and I apologize if I've already taken way too much time. So I was also asked to reflect on the training and curriculum issues and developments in the discipline of journalism, and perhaps multimedia specifically, that institutions like Makerere should pay attention to. Now, for a master's program in a university, one, I think that having a solid theoretical foundation is very important. You really can't run away from you know, conceptual grounding. If you come to a university and you have a problem with theory, I really suggest that you probably find something else to do, because, you know, in universities we deal with concepts, you know, we deal with theory. So this whole story that stuff is too theoretical, I'm sorry, you're in the wrong place. So, because having that solid theoretical, and it doesn't mean that theory must be boring. You know, theory can be fun. So, but the ability to detect, to research, to describe, to analyze, to interpret, and to communicate phenomena of interest, and especially to communicate phenomena of interest. In my work in consulting, in communications, I have found it very, very important, being able to communicate science, to communicate technical issues. Gloria will tell you, I used to run a program on extractive journalism for media people, you know, and we put a lot of emphasis in telling and breaking all that stuff down, the geology into stuff that people could actually understand, you know, and eventually, you know, I think people took that seriously. The second area that I think the program should also pay attention to, and I believe a lot of these things because I participated in one of the stakeholder consultations, strong grounding in research is also important. Being equipped with the tools to observe phenomena, to ask important questions, to systematically gather information, and to use theory to analyze and report what you have discovered. I think also that hands-on training in multimedia skills and tools is important, as the name of the program suggests. The age of convergence is driven by technological and digital revolution, and journalists are required to be competent in different media platforms. Hands-on training is very important because people become comfortable in multimedia creation, production, and dissemination of content only if they really practice.
multimedia has now become pretty much the default setting for contemporary journalism, so there is no way to run away from it. I also would like to emphasize the importance of knowledge-based journalism, and I suppose many of you coming into this program are coming from practice. So knowledge-based journalism is also very important. Being grounded in a particular discipline or subject matter, positioning oneself and growing your mastery of the core issues in an area of interest. It's important that you train yourself to be the newsroom expert, the one that is most prepared to report about the issues that you have become known for, and then support and build others up to get onto and to grow on the same path. You don't want to be the expert and the only expert for 10 years in the newsroom. Make sure. In my position, I get lots of usually requests for people who want to offer opportunities and say, we want senior journalists and so on and so forth. And I kept saying, but the notion of senior in Uganda is very different from the idea of senior, in Europe or America. Here you are senior after 3 years of practice. Because in many newsrooms, after 3 years, pretty much, many people have left and we've really, really put in a lot. And I kept telling people that, we really have to sort of, if we sort of change, our benchmark for senior, then we can open up opportunities, for other younger mid-career people to come into the stream and also build their expertise so that the newsroom has at least several people it can rely on. The last area is balancing knowledge of the local and the global, and I think I need not dwell on that. Now, let me conclude by saying that, and I think this is something that I've really reflected on quite a lot. And this is the tendency to brand and qualify journalism with labels that allude to what their champions claim to be new journalistic practices. Now, I bet you've heard concepts like solutions journalism, community journalism, impact journalism, enterprise journalism, constructive journalism, data journalism, and so many other descriptors that are yet to be coined. These are additions to earlier genres represented in labels such as investigative journalism, development journalism, precision journalism, and precision journalism is also in this program, and I'll tell you to think about it. And in fact, for precision journalism, I must confess that it was actually my favorite, precision journalism was my favorite concept as a mass communication student back in the day. In fact, in the book bank, in the department's book bank, there used to be a book by Philip Mayer titled Precision Journalism, a Reporter's Introduction to Social Science Methods. So I used to borrow that book, return it, sign it in, and then check it out again. And then I will take it back and then borrow. I really liked it because it sort of, I talked about, the application of social science in the practice of journalism. However, I refer to this as conceptual balkanization of journalism, which in my view is not really helpful. So this, I believe that it undermines the core substance of journalism. And I think we need to remember that the core substance of journalism, in whatever form or format, is verification. That is really the core substance of journalism. A journalist who is worth her or his salt must be obsessed with verification. Verification is what compels you as a journalist to be rigorous, to strive for depth, to be fair and balanced, to provide context, to discard what is trivial, and to anticipate questions that your story might provoke, and also to apply the level of effort that is necessary to produce a rounded story. And I say that newsrooms today are struggling to reorient their journalists to digital first or day-to journalism because the old approach of he said, she said is so deeply entrenched and so easy to fall back on. And so Makerere should prepare graduates who are relevant today and fit for the future. And that means that marshalling and leveraging all the resources that this university has to offer will be very important, giving students opportunity to cross into other disciplines, to be able to witness and hear and learn what is going there. And finally, I wanted to also make a comment about resources. I think that Makerere was extremely slow in future-proofing journalism training, and I share in that blame because the stories of our computer lab and radio station are well known among my peers in the department's leadership at the time, and especially how long it took to operationalize these facilities due to lack of appropriate space and infrastructure. Fortunately, today's technology has reduced the need for giant, air-conditioned studios for instructors to do their job or students to learn. So you don't really need that huge, amounts of space. However, this technology has also increased the unit cost of training an individual journalist. Because to be able to, for instance, to shoot high-definition video or record, good sound and pictures, you really need sophisticated cameras. The DSLR, the digital single lens reflex cameras, so even a basic model costs some good money. I checked them up, and a basic model can cost you something like $600. But the ones that are durable that you probably need for training because of the tear and wear probably might cost something like $2,500. And to run a program like this, you probably need several pieces. So without investment in this kind of hardware and without training the trainers to teach across it, will be counterproductive if you think about multimedia journalism. So there's no other option but to invest in this hardware. And as a research institution, the journalism and multimedia program curriculum must include inquiry into the changes the digital revolution has brought about. For example, many students don't realize that whereas they say they cannot afford to buy a newspaper, but if you consider how much time you spend on data on a daily basis, that is really quite some money. So the same goes for the general population. So research into the socioeconomic factors as well as the context of media production in Uganda is important as an area of scholarship. And I think for a new program like this, MA in Journalism and Multimedia, the inquiring, as looking at technology and media technology as an area of inquiry itself and an area of scholarship will be very important for students to pick up some of these research questions. So there is no denying that we must train and educate journalism students for the sake of skills and for the market. But also they should also be trained and educated for the contextual knowledge that is grounded in social theory, which can be found in disciplines and domains like politics, philosophy, linguistics, history, sociology, anthropology, and so on and so forth. And I want to wish you good luck with the new program, and I thank you for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, George. You can hear the applause yourself. You can hear the applause yourself. Thank you. Another round of applause, please. Now for our first year students, that is your first lecture. Yes, that is your first lecture. And I don't need to lay any more emphasis on anything. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, I think your time is coming shortly, but allow me to say one or two things as I prepare to see how you come to the rostrum here, whether you want to speak from where you are. Yeah, but the two master's programs that we launched today, and for which we must thank you immensely about your guidance over time in your office as Deputy Vice Chancellor AA, were really premised on consultation and participation by stakeholders. We had a lot of input. Even when George was away, you could see that he could very easily relate to the curriculum and the direction that we are taking in training as a university unit. And here I would like to make mention of one particular person. PRAU itself has been on our backs saying we want a professional qualification at that level, at postgraduate level, for the professionalization of the discipline or profession of public relations and corporate communication. And I think there is a recent development about actually a draft bill that has been prepared to recognize the profession of public relations and corporate communication as a regulated profession in the manner that other professions, that the older professions are. And I would like to make mention of Ms. Sarah Kajingo, because she was filing petitions after petitions about this department, giving them something. They said, we don't want to be general, we want to be particular. And of course, Mr. Mwanga, who succeeded Sarah Kajingo in office, has been very active, also driving here, checking on the chair, saying, where are our things? And so their things are now here, and they are here to witness them. But the point I was really trying to make with these examples is that we have a functional relationship with industry, and we treasure it, and we want to maintain it for as long into eternity, because I think the university should never be far removed from the people who actually use university services or products directly. Yeah, so the next item we have on the agenda is your remarks, but I'm updated that you are wearing two hats, both your hat as the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic Affairs and then as Vice Chancellor. I am sure you'll be able to speak to both positions, and so it is my pleasure to invite you to address us, first as DVCAA and then the Vice Chancellor, and then after that we'll do the official launching. There is a ceremony where the concelebrating priest or priestess is Dr. Marjorie Chomhendo Niite-Jeka. It will be done by the Vice Chancellor, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, the Principal, the Dean, and the Chair of the department. But Dr. Marjorie will be the one doing the incense as they do so. So Mr. Vice Chancellor and Deputy Vice Chancellor all rolled into one. You are welcome. Please, a round of applause as we welcome Professor Kakumba. Thank you so much.
Many thanks to you, Dr. Adolf Mbaine. Yeah, the members of the university management are here present and represented by the principal of the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, who's representing, the principal represented here by the Dean, Professor Mangeni, the Dean of Liberal and Performing Arts. I take the pleasure to recognize the Dean of Literature, Languages and Communication, Dr. Sauda Namialo, the Chair, Department of Journalism and Communication, our distinguished keynote speakers, my friend George Lugalambi and Gloria. I want also to recognize the colleagues from the corporate world linking to our Department of Journalism and Communication. I've seen Ndugu Don Wanyama, Sarah Kajingo, and the rest of you joining this afternoon. I want to recognize also the colleagues in the academia who are here, the seniors, Professor Nasanga, William Tayebwa, the faculty from Journalism, Communication, and CHUS, our gallant alumni, our dear students, and in a special way, the pioneer students of these two programs. All our guests, ladies and gentlemen, permit me at the very, very beginning to bring to you greetings from the Vice Chancellor, Professor Barnabas Nawangwe, who was actually coming in here a few minutes before the occasion this event started, but then got another quite important a matter to attend to. So, right as indicated, I'm wearing the two hats. So, I will deliver my message, but also the one of the VC. Yeah, it gives me great pleasure to address you as we launch these two very, very important master's programs in the Department of Journalism and Communication. I know the hard work that has taken these two programs. Great work involving from the idea itself, from the appeals you have received from your stakeholders, and what Adolf said, not Adolf, what George said here, that, you know, the pressure has been so much. And also Adolf echoed it here that the bashing kept on coming from all sides, that you were slow in advancing the discipline. So I want to recognize the great work that the chairperson and your team from the department has taken to lead to the success and eventual inauguration of these two important programs. Yeah, while it may have won some of you, you could have definitely gotten bruised in the process. You know, back and forth, departmental. For those of you who don't know, the rigor that is involved in getting a program accredited at Makerere University is a story you wouldn't want to listen to, or it's a journey you wouldn't love to to get involved in. Not for the worse, but I mean, it's really, really rigorous. You must get the departmental boards, you must get the school boards, you must get the college board. You move all the way from there to the Senate committee now, scheduling the program for discussion, back and forth engagement, proof of stakeholder engagement, industry. So it's not just curricula that you write and send it to be considered by the Senate. From the Senate committee again, going to the main Senate, where all these deans and the principals are present, everybody is trying to scrutinize and shoot. They say, okay, you are training a journalist of today, you know, talking about corporate communication, multimedia. How about this? You need psychology. The other one say, no, the environmentalist will come from KS. Today, issues of environment are critical to communication. They must be taught to. The business people will also come their way. You know what? You are talking about corporate world. You are talking about building corporate image and business. And communication stands in the middle as a very, very strategic tool in developing organizations. So one in management is telling you that, the one in economics. So the whole rigor and involvement in getting this curricula through, I know it, I know very well. From again Senate, you go to quality assurance. Now I'm saying I'm lamenting all of this for you who are joining as pioneer students for this program, to really appreciate that you are very, very lucky. Because even after Senate endorsing that, okay, we agree to this program, it goes through now the joint committee of council, the university council, and the Senate, which is called the quality assurance. Actually, it sits in this room. Quality assurance. Independent opinions. Now they look at many things. Okay. The feasibility of the program, the disciplinary, interdisciplinary relevance, and many other things until the final council. Now that is just the single journey of Makerere. So from Makerere here now you go to the National Council for Higher Education. Because you cannot run a program in this country until the regulatory body has given it a nod and approval. So I want to congratulate you, Journalism and Communication, Dr. Isha Nachwar and your team. And in a way congratulate your predecessors, William Tayebwa, George Lugalambi, Professor Nasanga, because this work, you know, has indelible marks of all of these people that have greatly contributed to it. So I want to say that both these programs are very, very much timely in various ways. On the one hand, they are an apt response to the critical need for practical skills in the marketplace, where communication as a cross-cutting discipline calls for specialized knowledge and abilities to support the functioning of any organization or society. But also on the other part of the media, as we all know, and as George has elaborately articulated, the field has evolved from traditional journalism, as we knew it then, to one of the cutting-edge innovations. For today's journalists to be worth their name and calling, they must embrace the new skills and the tools very, very, very fast. On the other hand, again, coming at the heels of celebrating 100 years, as the recurrent speakers have indicated, and also congratulated the institution, these two master's programs find the university at the threshold of its transition towards a research-led institution. It is refreshing to note and to see that the Department of Journalism and Communication is leading in its field by not only equipping students with the knowledge and practical skills, but also designing graduate programs that include rich research component aimed at building a community of highly trained researchers and a community of professionals in practice that can be able to provide what George was here talking about, providing that evidence-based and also strong theoretical grounding and understanding of the field. So the challenges that confront our country, such as environmental degradation, issues of diseases, epidemics, high infant maternal mortality, low levels of education standards, poverty, corruption, a struggling agriculture sector, issues of unemployment as we know them today, issues of human rights violations, issues of conflict today, and many others. All of these require a very, very strong concerted effort, but also require great citizenship, academic citizenship. But also it requires great students, the products who have been well trained and they have been well immersed in the very, very nature of the contemporary needs of our society. You'll agree with me, and again, as I think Gloria ably articulated here, that you need corporate communication, strategic and corporate communication to build institutions. And indeed, I agree with you. You cannot talk about the growth of any institution, be it private or public or governmental or non-governmental, outside the shadows of strategic and corporate communication. Because organizations are futuristic in their approach to survival. They are not just talking about today. They are not just at the operational level. The organizations are looking ahead 5-10 years to come. Okay, how do we, rationalize and leverage the opportunities of today and the emerging challenges of our world, so that we, first and foremost, stay surviving, because the first goal is survival. Then the next one is growth. You cannot grow when you have not survived. And you know, many institutions today are crumbling. And in the wake of COVID-19, many of our businesses and also corporates, they are down. They have not really come up or picked up the pieces. COVID and these lockdowns have sent them perhaps 10 years behind. So corporate communication, strategic communication comes in handy as a tool to reorient, okay, all the goals, all the aspirations, all the good intentions of the organization, so that they can be able to foster their achievement. So, but we also know that, that goes hand in hand with the building a corporate image, but it also goes with, I think, again, what the keynote speakers highlighted here, being proactive, being ahead of times. being ahead of times, because as we knew it then, talking about the printed papers that have to be driven very early morning at 4:30, taken to Mbale, taken where? I'm sure my colleague, my brother, Comrade Don Wanyama, has now moved a step, higher to ensure that the clientele can be able to receive their newspapers or the information from where they are without necessarily waiting for the vans that would go in the middle of the night. So the training must incorporate these new trends, okay? And I loudly, I want to agree, with the comments that have been made by the keynote speakers here. So to say that the Department of Journalism and Communication has really provided very good leadership in this endeavor by setting these two programs as a way of arming our students with tools that can make them relevant in the rapidly changing media world and the communication environment, and also being able to serve the society better, okay, in this transformation with a lot of transformative ideas, and also the need for timely and information. Yeah, I should also say that an institution like ours that has lived for 100 years needed such programs to demonstrate our commitment towards transformation. So your programs are not just for you to run in the department, but they also mirror the institution, okay, our aspirations, and it also helps us to answer what the world is looking at. We want to see Makerere 100 years. How are you rejuvenating, okay, your offering in terms of teaching and learning in your research? So I want to thank you so much in these two programs because they will definitely mirror the greater aspirations for the new century ahead. Yeah, so our graduates from Makerere should be able to pick up a great deal of this program, utilize it, should be able to embrace all of the detail that comes with it, and also should be able to think through the solutions that will answer the emerging and continuous problems of our society. Yeah, you'll agree with me that Makerere University, and I think this is also in the VC's message here, the Department of Journalism has grown over the years from what George was, what the judge of mass communication was describing here. So if the judge thing is the one that sent you away, we shall encourage the media people to rebrand so that so that you get back. But our department has really grown from strength to strength. I want to tell you that we have full-time, I think 15 or 16 full-time academic staff in the Department of Journalism and Communication. But that's about 90%. 13 of them are PhD holders. Out of 15, you have 13 PhD holders. Now, a PhD, for those of you who don't know, this is just a title. There are many people who are called doctors. But the doctor of philosophy is the highest level of formal academic achievement. Highest level of formal academic achievement. Beyond that, these others, professor, whatever, emeritus, they are awards in recognition of your contribution to knowledge, discipline, and what have you. But the highest level is what? The PhD, the formal academic line. So if you are having 13 out of 15, and then each one of them, on average, one PhD is expected to supervise 2 PhDs, meaning that in a year, progressively, the 13 can produce every year 26 PhDs. That is the average capacity that we can easily translate into what you have. So I think having these 2 master's programs Okay, it also demands, gives you the opportunity now for us to demand for even a couple of other taught PhDs, because you have the capacity. So I want to see the curriculum for the 2 taught PhDs. The PhDs that are research only, we have been running them in Makerere, but they are getting slowly. They are running out of space with the trends. Today, a really very, very strong PhD or doctoral program blends both the coursework, the research, the coursework and the research, but also a lot in the practice. So I want to challenge you and call you that let us leverage on this and the capacity that you have, the media connections that you have talked about, so that we get to other programs at doctoral level, so that we can really meet the demands of our community. I want to, later on I'll come to the VC's message. I see some concurrence in this. So I want to reassure the department that we in management will continue to support your growth, so that with the adequate resources and the clout that you already have with the corporations you have, the Public Relations Association of Uganda, and the different media agencies and the corporate entities, you can be able to, build more momentum that can expand our services to our stakeholder clientele. We are committed as management to ensuring that your important role at Makerere and in Uganda continue to thrive and also continue to grow very, very strongly. But on this I want to encourage you to tap into the potential. When I heard, as I was listening to George Lugalambi here, and rightly as Adolf you have said, this is for you who are the pioneer students, the first year. This has been a first lecture indeed. I hope you have been keeping Damali. Damali normally calls about this information, about this data. But I'm glad that you are part of the pioneer group for our master's program. So pick up that great lecture, because George's keynote here, delved so much at the heights of the journalism and communication, taking you through the challenges, the challenges in the profession, but also the practice itself, how it is, but also opened the way to us appreciating the opportunities and prospects that come with it. But the key point I want to bring out from the keynote here, as I end my speech, is what George said, the need to blend, especially having a very, very strong theoretical grounding and orientation. Because theories are not just self-opinionated ideas. One does not go to sleep and dream and then comes up with a theory. That's not how theories are. Theories are not slept over, and they are not just mere imaginations. They are grounded from empiricism, but they are also strongly grounded from strong in-depth interrogation of knowledge. So this program, I looked at the curriculum. I was at the center of it. These people have not revealed to you. A lot of comments, everything that was coming, I was looking at. So I want to assure you that it has what George was really looking for. These programs have very, very strong window for embracing and inquiring into the knowledge, the base of knowledge, but it also has very good prototypes, if I may use the word, of pitching practice. So you'll have definitely this combined thing, and I want to assure you, George. And maybe very, very lastly, we want to increase on the tapping into the resource, the greater resource. And my office is very, very open, and I know the Vice Chancellor's office. When it comes to having people from the corporate world coming in. We need adjuncts, visiting professors, visiting lecturers. George, up to the endless years, you can continue. Even when you don't come back fully, you can continue to be a visiting lecturer, professor. And that doesn't require even a approval of a budget or from appointments board. No, it is just a signature from a vice chancellor or a DVC to have somebody as a visiting lecturer, visiting academic. We want to tap into this resource because it will help a great blend in training, okay, in training our. So please let us utilize this opportunity and be able to tap from that potential. I know Don Wanyama here in practice, he can come as a visiting lecturer and give some good, especially from his latest. He has, allow me to really give Don a lot of, and I would want to call you to join me to congratulate Don Wanyama. You see, the New Vision and Makerere University, the New Vision has partnered with Makerere to support, all the media campaign for Mark at 100. But besides that, we have been able to use again our relationship with the corporate world to mobilize huge resources for the university. And also propelling university campaigns for the endowment, and everybody now, the visibility of Makerere is very, very, very high. Thanks to Mark at 100 and our association with Don. And congratulations upon the stellar performance, because the New Vision under Don Wanyama, has defied the destruction of COVID-19 to post huge dividends and returns in business. So we want to get the practical, case, experiences of the Don Wanyamas and many others coming into facilitation and giving knowledge. Yeah? Sarah here is been doing great work with the Public Relations Association, Sarah Kajingo. So please tap into this and so that we can continue really to make great contribution. Now from the VC, the VC's message is basically in three. One is congratulating Dr. Aisha Nachiwala and the rest of your team for working well with the School of Languages, Literature Communication, to review the old master's program and coming up with these new programs that we are launching today. So it conveys great congratulations to you and your team, the dean here and the principal of the college. The second message, again, that overrides what I said. Yeah, please, it's in order. The clap is in order. And from the VC, a message coming like that, written in black and white, it is also an appraisal on not only on the head of department, but the entire faculty in the department. Yeah, so he's also glad to appreciate the capacity that you have built over time, but also giving assurance of continued support from the university management to the department, and also wishing to see you grow, being elevated. Gloria here called you the School of Journalism. That should be, and communication. So we'll be delighted to see that. You have faculty, once you have PhDs, you have programs, because some of the things, the metrics of giving, growing a department to a school, you need a number of academic programs. You need population of, because once you have academic programs, then even the enrollment enhances, especially the enrollment at graduate level. Because you can't bring a school that is only running undergraduate programs. So I think you've started on the bid for the school. And here the VC is saying that would be very, very happy and committed to support your advancement to see the growth of the department into the school. And the dean here will be very happy to mother a new school. The other message that is coming from VC here again connects to the radio facilities. By the way, we had a meeting and I'm sure that information has come down to you. Our frequency should be retained. The Honorable Minister the Minister for Communication, the Honorable Chris Bariomunsi. Yes, immediately picked a call and called the UCC in our presence with the VC, and so you should follow up on that frequency for our radio to get it. And he said that no, that was it's over. How did even UCC think or even dare to take away that? Yeah, so he was asking questions, and what they discussed with the executive director of UCC is for you now to utilize that very, very quickly. But it is also in this message. And then, finally, that's about, again, the status, the higher status of elevating the school, but also in a way appreciating the pioneer students for having picked interest at the very, very first. And I recall that the numbers were really very many, because not all of those who applied were admitted. Because a program being advertised for the first time, its intake capacity, I think, was like 30 or 40, something like that. But then you are receiving over 80 applications, so that shows the competitiveness of the program. Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to take a lot of time than we have already taken. I want to once again appreciate the audience participating in this, and in a special way, once again, congratulate you for doing it better. Journalism and communication, other programs. When we approve them, they advertise, they get the students, they start teaching. But who else would do it better than communication and journalism? So you need something like this so that the bigger news come out very, very, very well. So I want to congratulate you upon this. And on behalf of the VC now, it is my singular honor and pleasure to officially launch the two new programs, the Master of Strategic and Corporate Communication and the Master of Journalism and Multimedia Studios. Exactly. So for me, I have delivered the message here in words. Now what is pending is the endorsement to really guarantee and put a stamp that the programs have been. So Dr. Marjorie, Dr. Charlotte, if you can bring that so that we... So we come around there, or? All right.
Thank you very much. Please, another round of applause for Vice Chancellor, who's been here with us this afternoon, giving us very educative and or instructive words, and now is going to sign officially as a mark to launch the two new programs. There's space for the Vice Chancellor, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, the Principal of the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, the Dean of the School of Languages, Literature and Communication, and the Chair of the Department of Journalism and Communication. Oh, thank you. Congratulations and jubilations. Thank you so much, Professor Kakumba. Thank you so much. We are very grateful. And Professor Kakumba will be followed by the principal, who will sign. Professor Patrick Mangeni will sign. Yeah, this is, we shall keep this board very, very carefully. It will still be as new in the next 100 years. when we celebrate 200 years of Makerere University. So thank you, Dean. Thank you so much, Dean. And thank you so much, Chair, for inserting your signature on the, yes. So the two programs are now officially launched. Thank you so much. There is a group photo here. First for the people who signed, for the Vice Chancellor. For the Vice Chancellor and yes. For those who signed first, yeah, for those who signed first, holding it, yes. Yeah. Yes, thank you very much. I can see the chair is going to really frame a lot of pictures coming out of this. Plus the dean, of course, and the principal, I think you, yes, and the representative of the new students, Sarah Kajingo, thank you very much. The next people who will join in the picture will be the staff, if you could allow, and the key stakeholders, PRAU. Mr. Robin Humza is still here from NMG, Don Wanyama, and Professor Chuan Katondo. And our keynote speakers, please, Gloria and George, please come through. Gloria, we are requesting you. Mr. Robin Humza is still here. Mr. Robin Humza is a board member of NMG, and we take our association with NMG very, very seriously. Don is already here, yes. Anybody else from industry? Kawesa, Dalton, hurry up. We will not allow you to, yes. Dalton is the news manager of NBS TV, and we are about to show him the exit door from the master's program. Just about. Yes, just about. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. The pioneer students and staff, and the staff of DJC, please come forward. And from the staff. Okay, let's first do with the staff. And Professor Natkunda, please honor us with your, and Dr. Gumoshabe, if he's still around, please join us in the staff picture. Yes, Professor Natkunda, is Dr. Gumoshabe still here? I would also like to request Jenna Nyango and Rita Namisango to join us as well in the staff picture. Dr. Marion. Is Dr. Imokora here? Please join us. So the pioneer students, please come in. This is your greatest opportunity to take a picture with the Vice Chancellor and other senior university officials. It is always very difficult to meet your Vice Chancellor because I remember in the universities I studied elsewhere, I never saw the Vice Chancellor at all. Yes. You might actually to make sure you are in the picture. Don't hide behind. Yeah. So our camera people, are you done? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Napakori. Thank you. Thank you all so much. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chancellor. Thank you, Mr. Principal. Thank you all so very much. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chancellor. Thank you, Mr. Principal. Thank you, Dean Namiaro. Thank you, the Chair. Thank you also very much. Can we conclude? Just lend me your ears for a while. In this event, we were also graced with the presence of Dr. Angela Napakor from Uganda Christian University. We enjoy a very fraternal relationship with our sister institution, Uganda Christian University. Now, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you, all of you, once more, and invite you to tea. We have tea and coffee at the back of the room. Please take a cup of coffee tea or coffee before you leave. So thank you very much, and everyone will leave at their pleasure. Thank you so much.